Hi, I'm Scotty. Welcome to my channel, Scotty's Clock World. Thanks for dropping by. Before we check the pivots and the bushings and see how they align, we've got a little bit more cleaning up to do. You'll remember we had some rust on these pinions here in between the leaves. Some more on there that we'll clean off. A little bit of rust on the great wheel, we'll run over that won't take long. Clean that up. Also on the fly, little bits of rust down there. Right, so we'll use a Dremel for that. So I'll turn that on and get that warmed up while we take a pin vise and put our first wheel into it and then tighten it up. Having a pin vise will just make it easier to hold while we're using the Dremel, as opposed to holding it in your hand with that little bit of arbor there. Nearly ready for a new Dremel, I think. It's a pretty old one, this one. Alright, we're going to start off running the Dremel in between the leaves there and see what we can clean out. We won't be able to get right to the end there because the Dremel has a round stainless steel wheel on it, and we'll be lucky to get about there, I would think. But that's pretty much where the wheel is going to sit on it. Alright, run it backwards and forwards in between each of those leaves. Doesn't take very much. We're sort of getting down towards the bottom of it, not exactly, but there's no other way we can remove the rust in there, because steel wool's not going to cut it, unfortunately. Rotating the pin vise between my thumb and finger. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. Tiny little bit of rust down there. I'll run a bit of steel wool over that. That looks a lot better, and it also looks exactly like it's what we're going to get. Now, I think we might have to use the other end of our pin vise, I think. The fly has got a pretty tiny arbor on it. Alright, now we should be able to clean up all the way along here in between each of these leaves on the pinion, because this piece of the fly just turns round, rotates. Alright, let's see what we've got. Nice and slowly in between the leaves, letting it run back and forwards. Yep, that's cleaning up alright. Then we'll just keep going and work our way round slowly and methodically. I'll spin the vane round a bit so we can access the area between the leaves. Yeah, that's not looking too bad actually. Once again, I'll run a piece of steel wool over that little bit down the end there, and I think I'll probably do it on the other end of the arbor here also. Down there, it's looking a little bit rough. Quick turn round, be careful not to hurt the vane on it, and that's not looking too bad actually. Looking a lot better than it was. Alright, great wheel. Little bit of rust up the top there and a couple of bits down the bottom. We'll remove those using the Dremel once again. And down there. Over the top of that piece. And in the joint down there. Turn that off. Have a look at the rest of it. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Next one. That's in very good nick actually. Okay, that's good. And the third one runs freely. Little bits of rust in under there. Bit hard to see, only a tiny bit, but it's virtually impossible to get at because it's got this other wheel on top of it. But there is some rust in around there, so I'll run over that quickly with the Dremel, see if we can get rid of it. Spin the wheel around in our hand, lightly touching it with the Dremel. Aha, that's looking a lot better. Alright, what else have we got? Here's another one. We'll run over that wheel. That's the warning wheel, as can be seen by the pin on it there. Right, very carefully. Running in between the leaves again. Slowly working our way around. As with everything when you're working on mechanical clocks, there's no quick easy fix. And even if you find that a movement is working, you're guaranteed to find some other work you've got to do on it. Removing a bit of rust, getting some excess grease out, getting some excess oil out. That's guaranteed to happen. You can't just pick up a clock at a collectibles fair and expect that it's going to work. If you want to buy clocks of that type, then you go to an antique auction and you pay 8 to 10 times as much. And because they're so expensive, you don't touch them. You don't want to make a mess of them. Consequently, you haven't learnt anything. You haven't had to look at problems and learn how to solve them. Alright, now the next little bit we're going to do, there's a couple of pieces here that when I wipe my finger on it, you can see it's got a coating of gunk on it. You can see it's come up cleaner there. So what we'll do with this lot, in a break with tradition, we're going to use some of this, some citrus based cleaner, and it's very, very good. Just a light squirt on a clean cloth, and then we'll wipe it over the top of the steel part here and over there. Spin it round, grab the other side while we're at it, and clean it up. And we'll run over that brass piece too. Bring that up a little bit. Well, there's the dirt I got off that small piece. Run over it with a piece of dry cloth now to remove any orange oil that's still on it. And the rack stop lever is in the same condition. You can see how gunky it is there. Alright, a little bit more orange, and we'll run up and down the length. We can put reasonable pressure on this because it's a steel piece and it's not going to bend in a hurry. And we want to get it clean, get rid of that numerous years worth of gunk on the back of it. This clock doesn't look like it's come from a smoker's home because it's in pretty good nick, and it's not bad enough to come from a smoker's home, but it's still got stuff on it, bits of oil and dirt and dust and what have you that we want to remove. And that there is going to require some steel wool in actual fact. So does this piece that the pendulum hangs on. You can see how rusty it is there. We'll touch that up with a Dremel in a moment, but in the meantime I'll run over this with a little bit of steel wool And that will pretty much, yeah, look at the difference that's made. From there to there. Tear that piece off, we don't want that amount. And up and down over the top there. And on the other side, which isn't too bad actually, but we'll give it a quick run over. A little bit of rust there, but not much. And that brass piece. Clean up with a clean cloth. And then as usual, our little bit of slightly oily rag, because we've used steel wool on steel plates of some type in this movement. Give it a tiny little wipe. There's very little amount of oil on this rag, not much at all, but just sufficient. You can see a little bit of a shine on it. That'll keep the rust at bay for a period of time. And our pallets here are looking pretty rough too. So what we'll do with those, I'll get a little bit more of our orange cleaner and gently rub it down the top and the bottom and get rid of the stuff that's hanging on it. Clean dry bit of cloth, cleaned it off now. Got a faint line on it. It's not, it hasn't cut a groove into it. Oh, that's all right. All right, so we've got that now. Now the last thing we've got to clean up is this piece here that hangs a pendulum on it. And I'll actually give it a spin round with some steel wool first, because it may not require a Dremel to clean it. It looks like it might only be surface rust, and I think most of it is. I'll spin it round, run over that, and that's looking better. There's a tiny little bit of rust there that's not surface rust, but we've virtually got rid of it all. Right, back to our slightly oily rag. Give it the once over. And there we have him, looking all right. Put that back in the dish, and that's the end of the cleaning. Everything now is looking pretty good. Thank you to my supporters, Don Dressel, David Phillips, Graham FP, Robert Hornman, Mike Messerschmidt, Stephen Watts, Sidus, Rolf, Tony Paisley, Jeff Clements, Whitney Kovner, Walt Morgan, Dennis O'Connor, Robert Baldwin, Douglas Mueller, John, Martin Olivia, Douglas Rollinson, Bill Leeds, Getsup, Brooks Rowand, Jim Scarla Dawn, Rodney Van Meter and Elizabeth Smith.